From rivals to are we actually doing this? Riley Hart liked quiz night for 3 reasons. 1. It was predictable. 2. The bar was a 6-minute walk from her apartment if she cut through the alley with the mural of the fox in sunglasses. 3. Nobody expected her to be charming. They just expected her to be right. She was in her usual booth at the Lantern, back corner, half-shadowed, notebook open, pen in hand. The overhead TV scrolled through sports scores no one cared about. Fairy lights glowed along the ceiling, and the smell of fries and cheap beer hung in the air like a familiar blanket. Riley flipped a page in her color-coded quiz notebook and murmured, "Capitals, again. Please tell me you're not studying for pub trivia," Naya groaned, dropping into the seat across from her and nearly sending Riley's water glass flying. "I'm reviewing," Riley said. "There's a difference." Nia pushed her curls out of her face and grinned. "You know you're supposed to have fun here, right? Like we, people, laughter, mild alcoholism. I'm having fun. You're highlighting. That's my fun." Naya rolled her eyes and checked her phone. "Anyway, she's on her way. Be nice." "Who?" Riley asked, still scanning a handwritten list of obscure world flags. "My new crush." Riley didn't bother reacting. Naya had a new crush, roughly once a lunar cycle. They cycled through majors, genders, aesthetics. The only consistent thing was the chaos. "Name?" Riley asked. Nia smirked. "You'll see." Riley was halfway through, writing Ulaanbaatar, when a familiar voice cut through the low hum of the bar. "Well," it said dryly, "some things never change." Riley's hand froze. The pen dug a little too hard into the page. The hairs on the back of her neck lifted, like they recognized the frequency before her brain did. Slowly, she looked up, standing next to the booth, wearing a cracked leather jacket and that same infuriating, self-assured half-smile, was Marin Ortiz. Every inch of comfort in the bar shattered. Riley's brain did a hard reboot. The years between high school and now folded up like bad origami. She saw fluorescent classroom lights, debate trophies, A- paper she'd nearly torn in half, and Marin's stupid, perfect, unbothered face. Here she was again. "What are you doing here?" Riley asked, voice flat as a dropped textbook. "Nice to see you too, Hart," Marin said, sliding into the booth like she had a right to it. "Naya invited me." Riley's eyes snapped to Naya, who was suddenly very interested in smoothing a non-existent wrinkle out of the tablecloth. "You said you were bringing a crush," Riley hissed. Nia blinked. "Yeah, I did." Riley stared. "No. Wow," Marin murmured, amused. "Didn't even know we were in the running, but I'll take the vote of confidence." "Naya." Riley's jaw clenched. "What?" Naya said, hands up. "You two know each other?" "We went to high school together," Marin said easily. "Same AP everything, same debate team, same detention. Her fault. You unplugged the projector during my econ presentation," Riley snapped. "You're the reason I had detention." "Please," Marin said. "I was testing your ability to improvise. You did great. Valedictorian vibes." Riley hated that her pulse spiked at the compliment. Nia looked between them, eyes widening. "Wait, you two are those kind of ex-classmates? Rivals?" "We're nothing," Riley said. Marin's smirk turned softer, sharper. "Keep telling yourself that." Quiz sign-up started. People shifted, dragged chairs, shouted for the bartender. Riley flipped her notebook closed, like it was a shield. This was her space, her one weekly ritual, where no one expected more than answers and eye rolls. Now, Marin Ortiz was sitting across from her again, like the universe had hit replay and cranked the volume. "Team name?" the quizmaster called. Naya looked at Riley, then Marin. Enemies with benefits? Absolutely not, Riley said. Marin tilted her head. I don't know. We can negotiate the benefits part. Riley wrote, the control group, and shoved the slip toward the edge of the table. Marin read it, one eyebrow lifting. Cute. You always did love pretending emotions were contaminating your data. Some things are measurable, Riley shot back. Your ego, for instance. Nia fanned herself with a napkin. I am so glad I came. They won, obviously. Riley should have felt satisfied watching their score stomp everyone else's. Instead, she felt like someone had taken a crowbar to her ribs and wedged the past back inside. At the end, Naya slung an arm around Marin's shoulders. You're joining our team every week, right? Please say yes. Marin glanced at Riley. Depends. Hart might file a restraining order. Riley's mouth moved before she could stop it. Welcome to the team. The words tasted like betrayal. She left before the second round of drinks. Her steps out of the lantern were too fast. Her breathing too shallow. Behind her, she could still hear Marin's laugh. Warm and bright, like it belonged in every room. Riley hated that she'd missed it. Senior year detention had smelled like dry erase markers and resentment. Riley sat ramrod straight in a plastic chair, working through calculus problems like she could solve her way out of boredom. Across the room, Marin had her feet up on a desk, spinning a pencil between her fingers. Not a single textbook in sight. You're going to get graphite on your face, Riley said, without looking up. You're going to give yourself an ulcer, Marin shot back. We all cope in different ways. Riley pressed harder on the page. Why did you do it? Do what? Unplug the projector in the middle of my presentation, in front of the entire class. Oh, Marin shrugged, like it was ancient history. And not the reason Riley's eye still twitched thinking about it. You had it too rehearsed. I wanted to see what happened if the universe rewrote your script. I wasn't auditioning for theater. I was defending a monetary policy. You should audition for something, Marin mused. You've got this intense BBC villain thing going on. Riley looked up sharply. How is that a compliment? Villains are hot, Marin said. Keep up. Heat crept up Riley's neck. She slammed her calculator shut. You think everything is a joke, she muttered. Marin's smile faltered. Just a fraction. No, just you. That stung more than it should have. Outside, a lawnmower droned lazily. Inside, the fluorescent lights hummed. You didn't have to sit with us, you know, Riley said after a minute, staring at her worksheet. What? In class. In the cafeteria. You could have gone with the soccer kids, or the artsy cult or whatever. Nobody forced you into our group. Marin blinked, caught off guard. Sorry, didn't realize I needed a permission slip to exist near you. That's not what You just always made sure I noticed you, Riley blurted. The silence that followed rang in her ears. Marin's smirk came back, slower this time. Or maybe you're just really good at noticing me. Back then, Riley had rolled her eyes so hard, she gave herself a headache. Now, years later, the memory felt less like arrogance and more like a question she'd never answered. Naya's low-key board game night was a lie-on about 6 levels. Her apartment looked like Pinterest had thrown up. Fairy lights, mismatched cushions, plants in every corner. A candle that smelled aggressively like autumn. Riley stepped out of her boots and scanned the room. Jordan was stacking snacks. Priya was untangling a pile of card decks with grim determination. And Marin was on the floor, cross-legged beside the coffee table, sorting Monopoly money like she owned the Federal Reserve. Hey, Hart, Marin said, looking up. Ready to destroy friendships over fake property? Ready to watch you make terrible investments, Riley replied. sinking carefully onto the opposite side of the board, as far away as the room allowed. Nia clapped. "Look at you two. So civil. I'm proud." "We're not uncivil," Marin said. "We're just incompatible," Riley added. Priya murmured, "Same thing," under her breath. They started playing. 15 minutes in, Riley owned both dark blues and a railroad. Marin had a depressing line of low-rent properties and an attitude. "Why would you buy Baltic Avenue?" Riley asked. "Diversifying my portfolio," Marin said. "You're lighting fake money on fire," says the woman hoarding utilities like it's 1923. Jordan watched them like a tennis match. "This is better than actual TV." Nia leaned back on the couch and popped a chip into her mouth. "Told you. If I'd picked trivia, they wouldn't answer a single question. It would just be a murder trial." "It's not an argument," Riley said. "It's clarifying." "Same thing," Marin echoed, smirking. By the time Priya declared bankruptcy, just to end the game, Riley had a tension headache and Marin had a full set of railroads and no shame. "Same time next week?" Naya asked. "Maybe something less violent," Priya said. "Like a seance." Jordan stretched. "Only if Riley and Marin have to sit next to each other. I'm invested in this plot line." Riley packed up the game with military precision, heart thudding. Marin just smiled, unhurried, like she'd already won something more important than fake real estate. The library was the one place campus didn't expect her to be entertaining. Riley claimed her usual table, second floor, near the windows, just far enough from the printers that their shriek didn't make her homicidal. She set out her laptop, notebooks, pens, highlighter rainbow, order, peace. She was 20 minutes into a reading on social stratification when someone pulled out the chair across from her. She didn't look up. She already knew. "Hey, Hart," Marin said, dropping a battered notebook on the table. "This seat taken by, I don't know, the ghost of your academic superiority? There are 12 empty tables." Riley muttered. "You picked mine. I like the lighting here." Marin flipped her notebook open. It was a horror show of messy notes and doodles and question marks. Riley stared for exactly 1 second too long. Marin grinned. "What? Never seen chaos before?" "Not voluntarily." They worked. Sort of. Riley tried to. Every time she got into a flow, Marin would sigh or fidget or tap her pen, loudly. "Can you not?" Riley whispered. "I'm literally breathing," Marin whispered back. "Sorry I exist so aggressively." Riley fixed her eyes on her notes. Out of nowhere, Marin leaned across the table to peer at Riley's notebook. Her arm brushed Riley's page, her shoulder almost touching Riley's hand. "You spelled sociological wrong," Marin murmured. "I did not," Riley said automatically, then glanced down. She had. "Shut up," she hissed. Marin laughed quietly. "Still neat as hell, though. You always had psycho-perfect handwriting. It's very on-brand." "Stop trying to compliment me," Riley said. "It's weird." "Fine. Your handwriting is emotionally repressed." "That's better." They traded barbs in low voices, neither of them moving to another table. From a distance, they probably looked like study buddies. Up close, it felt like standing too near a live wire and pretending it was just weather. The party had been exactly the kind Riley hated. Too loud, too hot, too many people pretending they weren't counting. Who looked at who? High school, someone's parents out of town, a living room packed with teenagers and bad decisions. Riley had hugged the wall with a lukewarm soda in the vague hope of disappearing. "Riley, get in the circle," someone yelled. Her gut screamed no. Her feet moved anyway. Peer pressure was a hell of a drug. She sat. The bottle spun in the middle of the worn rug, surrounded by faces she half liked and half tolerated. Of course, fate picked the worst option. The bottle wobbled, quivered, and landed on her. Then on Marin. A chorus of "Ooh!" rolled around the circle. Marin grinned slowly. Fate's ruthless tonight, Hart. Riley's stomach flipped. No. What? Someone laughed. I'm not kissing her. Riley's voice came out flat and sharp. Silence snapped across the circle. Aw, you scared you might like it? Marin teased. But her eyes had gone unreadable. Riley heard the panic in her own voice and sharpened it into something cruel. Relax. With how much you kiss everyone, I'd probably need antibiotics. The quiet that followed was worse than any laughter. Marin's smile vanished, then slid back into place slower, meaner. Don't be jealous just because I have game, she said lightly. I have standards, Riley shot back. Good, Marin said. Wouldn't want your first kiss wasted on someone like me. You're assuming a lot if you think you'd be my first. Trust me, Marin said. You're not subtle. They were too close, too loud, too raw. Someone cleared their throat. An awkward laugh tried and failed to resuscitate the mood. Riley stood up without another word and walked out onto the porch, heart pounding, cheeks burning. Inside, the game stumbled on. Marin didn't spin again. Neither of them mentioned it, ever. Which was worse? Nia thought she was subtle. She was not. She lit candles. She fluffed cushions. She queued up a soft indie romance with long silences and emotionally constipated leads. It's just movie night, she said when Riley frowned at the scene. Cozy, low stakes, zero drama. Riley's gaze swept the room. One couch, one armchair, one oversized floor cushion right in front of the TV. Jordan and Priya had already claimed the couch. The armchair was piled with blankets and a cat that didn't even live there. The only free spot was the cushion, next to Marin. Hi, Marin said, biting back a smile. Riley lowered herself onto the very edge of the cushion, like it might bite. You planned this, she muttered to Naya. Absolutely not, Naya lied. The universe ships you. You're sitting like you're at a job interview, Marin whispered as the movie started. I'm sitting like I value personal space, Riley whispered back. On a cushion, for two. On a trap, Riley corrected. Halfway through the movie, their hands collided in the popcorn bowl. Riley jerked back like she'd grabbed a live wire. Sorry, Marin murmured, not sounding sorry at all. Move faster next time, Riley said. Jordan, from the couch, stage whispered. Do they know we can hear them? Priya sipped her tea. I'm collecting data. Riley stared straight ahead, eyes on the blurry screen, ears full of Marin's breathing. She didn't move closer. She also didn't move away. When the credits rolled, she shot to her feet. Leaving already? Nia called. Some of us have a 9 a.m., Riley said. You didn't say goodbye, Marin added. Bye, Riley said, not looking back. The door clicked behind her a little too hard. Inside, Nia sighed. The tension is getting exhausting. For me. Riley didn't expect the text. She was halfway through, outlining a paper, perfectly in her zone. Highlighter in hand, headphones on, world shut out. Her phone buzzed twice. She ignored it. Then again, insistent. Sighing, she flipped it over. Unknown number. You still do that thing when you're mad. She frowned. Who is this? 3 dots. Ortiz. Nia gave me your number. For study emergencies. Your Twitch qualifies. Riley glared at the screen. What thing? Left eyebrow jumps. Jaw goes full granite. It's weirdly adorable. You might want to get that under control before a presentation. Heat crept up her neck. Stop staring at my face, she typed. Deleted it. Tried again. How do you even notice that? I always have. Marin wrote. Riley stared at the message, like it was a fire alarm in her bedroom. Another text came through. Relax. It's cute. Don't worst kiss ever me over this. Riley dropped her phone on the table. She hadn't told anyone that line still haunted her. Hearing it thrown back at her in Marin's voice made something in her chest twist. She didn't respond. Her notes didn't make sense for the next hour. By the time the group trip came up, Riley felt like she was living in a slow-burn horror movie. It'll be fun, Nia had said. Beach house for the weekend. We can pretend deadlines aren't real. Riley said yes, before asking who exactly we included. Rookie mistake. 2 days later, surrounded by half-packed bags and a communal snack pile, she finally asked, Is Marin coming? Naya didn't look up from folding towels. Yeah, of course. You of course didn't tell me. I thought you knew. Nia lied, badly. Jordan looked up from Googling road trip songs that don't suck. Why do you sound like someone just told you your nemesis got your promotion? Because that's exactly what my life has been, Riley muttered. Priya emerged from the kitchen with travel mugs. She's nice, she said, and she makes Riley's eye twitch. It's enriching. Riley glared at her. Why do you even like her? Nia shrugged. She's funny. She's brilliant. She flusters you in under 3 seconds. What's not to love? I don't get flustered, Riley said. All 3 of them stared. You're doing it right now, Jordan said. Riley grabbed her hoodie. I'm going to go categorize snacks before I set this place on fire. By the time Marin slid into the back seat of Nia's car the next morning, the plan was simple. Contain, ignore, survive. It lasted 8 minutes. From the back, Marin said, You okay up there, Hart? You're sitting like someone said, feelings. Peachy, Riley said, watching the highway roll by. You look peachy, Marin said. Riley clamped her jaw shut. When they pulled up to the rental, the beach house looked like a stock photo. Weathered porch, string lights, distant hiss of waves. Inside, it smelled like cleaning spray and stale sand. Everyone dumped their bags in the living room. Nia clapped, fake cheery. Room assignments. Riley stood in the corner, arms crossed. There are 2 twin rooms and 1 queen, Nia said, and 1 couch, but friendly people can share. Riley and Marin can take the queen, Jordan said immediately. Absolutely not, Riley said. I'm kidding, Jordan added. Mostly. Nia shot Marin a quick, conspiratorial look. Sorry, Ortiz. I tried. Tried what? Riley demanded. Nothing, Nia sang, already backing down the hall. You'll live, Marin laughed under her breath. For the record, I would have been a great roommate. You steal blankets, Riley said. How do you even know that? Riley opened her mouth, closed it. Marin's grin turned slow. Interesting. It was supposed to be a fun first night. Card games, cheap wine, bad playlists. It took exactly 1 throwaway joke to blow it up. They were halfway through a game when Jordan said, I love how you 2 always sit across from each other. It's like academic chess, with muted yearning. Muted what? Riley snapped. I'm just saying, Jordan went on. If we ever needed enemies to lovers footage for a rom-com trailer, we're set. The table laughed. Marin chuckled, eyes flicking to Riley. Riley's spine locked. Her grip tightened around her cards. Ha, she said, voice too sharp. Hilarious. I'm so glad my entire personality is content for you. Whoa, Nia said. Riles, we're messing around. Yeah. Well, it's not funny. Riley stood, chair scraping hard against the floor. I'm going for a walk. She shoved her hoodie on and stepped out onto the dark porch, the cool salt air slapping her in the face. Gravel crunched under her sneakers as she stalked down the path, breath loud in her ears. She didn't hear the door open. She did hear Marin's footsteps catching up anyway. "Of course," Riley muttered. You stormed out," Marin said. "Nia gave me the look. I drew the short straw." "You didn't have to follow," Riley said. "You don't have to be everywhere I am." "Riley, they were kidding," Marin said, tone softer than usual. "Nobody's filming your biopic." "You do this," Riley said, spinning around. "You slide into every group like you've been there forever. Everyone loves you on sight. Teachers, strangers, now my friends. I had to build this life. You just waltz in like you come pre-installed." Marin blinked. "I didn't realize existing near you was theft." "You take up all the air," Riley said, chest tight. "You always did. I work twice as hard, and somehow I'm still in your orbit." They stood facing each other on the gravel, breath steaming in the cool air, the distant crash of waves filling the space between words. "And what?" Marin said quietly. "You hate me for it?" Riley stopped. She shouldn't have looked down. Her eyes flicked to Marin's mouth for half a second, like a reflex. Marin saw it. Of course she did. "Really?" Marin asked, voice low. Riley took half a step forward. Not enough to touch, enough to feel the pull. She felt herself leaning in, like gravity had opinions now. At the last second, Marin said, almost gentle, "Aren't you worried you'll catch something?" The words hit like a slap. The party, the circle, the bottle, the insult, her own scared, cruel voice. Riley froze. "You're unbelievable," she said, throat tight. She turned to go. Marin's hand closed around her wrist. Not hard, just there. "Wait." Riley looked back. Marin's face had lost every trace of smugness. "I remember what you said," Marin murmured. "I also remember that I wanted to kiss you anyway." Then she pulled Riley in and kissed her. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rough. It was a careful press of mouth to mouth, slow enough to back out of, firm enough to feel real. Riley did not back out. The years of static lit up at once. She stepped in, fingers bunching in Marin's jacket, kissing back like she'd been holding her breath since she was 17 and had finally exhaled. Marin made a small, surprise sound and deepened it, one hand at Riley's waist, the other in her hair. Riley kissed like she argued, all in, no safety net. When she realized how much that scared her, she tore herself away, like the kiss had burned. "What are you doing?" she demanded, voice shaking. Marin blinked. "I thought that was obvious." Riley's heart hammered against her ribs. That was the worst kiss I've ever had." The lie tasted like blood and sea salt. Something in Marin's expression shuddered. She huffed a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "Wow, brutal. Noted. Won't happen again then." She let go of Riley's wrist and stepped back. "Enjoy your walk, Hart," she said, voice too even, and turned toward the house. Riley stayed on the path, chest heaving, lips tingling, wanting to call her back and not knowing how. When Riley went back inside, the living room felt too bright. Nia looked up from the couch. "You okay?" "She threatened to shove me into the ocean," Marin said lazily, sprawled across the armchair with a drink in hand. "Romantic, really?" Jordan snorted. "You two making out in the dunes yet?" "Please," Marin said, rolling her eyes. "Can you imagine Hart kissing me?" She laughed, but her fingers were white-knuckled around her glass. Riley dropped onto the other end of the couch. The only open spot was next to Marin's legs. Marin lifted her arm and draped it casually along the back of the cushions behind Riley. Not touching, almost. The heat from her skin felt like a spotlight. "You think she would ever?" Marin added, grin sharp. Riley stared straight ahead. Her pulse wouldn't slow down. "No," she said, voice flat. It was the second lie of the night. Back in her own bed after the trip, Riley couldn't sleep. The more she tried to shove the kiss into a dark corner of her mind, the more it lit up. It wasn't just the kiss. It was the way Maren had looked at her before it. Soft, determined, like she already knew the answer and was just waiting for Riley to catch up. Riley thought about high school, about late nights in the debate classroom, about yelling at Maren over Keynesian models and noticing the small freckle at the corner of her mouth. She thought about detention, about Maren calling her intense and hot in the same breath. She thought about that stupid spin-the-bottle circle and how much effort it had taken to say no when every nerve in her body had screamed yes. She didn't hate Maren. She never had. Hate didn't track someone's laugh across a crowded hallway. Hate didn't store every little detail. Favorite pens, coffee order, the way her thumb tapped the table when she was nervous. Hate didn't feel like this. If she admitted it was attraction, everything changed. Riley stared at the ceiling and decided she'd rather lobotomize the feeling. Plan A: date someone else, crush on someone else. Make her brain shut up through sheer force of distraction. She texted Jonah from her seminar class back. The party was crowded, humid, full of people trying to look like they weren't trying. Riley walked in with Jonah at her side, laughing at something he'd said about statistics and horror movies. It was fine. He was fine. Tall, kind, handsome in an approachable way. Safe. She could like safe. The moment she spotted Marin, the illusion cracked. Maren was by the kitchen, leaning against the counter, talking to a tall girl with model-sharp cheekbones. The girl's hand brushed Maren's arm. Maren smiled, lazy and warm. Riley felt something in her chest drop like a stone. She tried not to stare. She failed. Jonah said something. Riley did not hear it. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," she said. I need water." She didn't go to the kitchen. She went to the hallway, pulse thudding. She barely got 3 breaths in before Maren appeared at the other end. Alone now, hands in her jacket pockets. "Hydration break?" Maren asked. Riley crossed her arms. "You looked busy." Maren's mouth twitched. "What's your problem, Hart? You mean besides watching you melt when someone laughs at all your recycled jokes?" Maren's brows lifted. "Jealous?" Riley scoffed. "Of what? Your inability to have one serious thing in your life?" "Okay," Maren said slowly. "Try again, without the projection." "You brought her here," Riley said, hating how shaky she sounded. "To this party, with our friends, with me. I didn't bring her for you," Maren said. "Shocking, I know." Clearly, they were close now. Too close. Riley felt the wall at her back and Maren in front of her. And suddenly, the hallway felt far too small. "Why does it bother you?" Maren asked softly. "It doesn't," Riley said. Maren took 1 step closer. "You watched me the whole time. I was bored." "You don't get bored," Maren said. "You get annoyed, or smug, or," her gaze dropped briefly to Riley's lips and back, "weirdly intense. Congratulations on your observational skills," Riley said. "Thanks," Maren murmured. "They tell me things." "Like what?" Maren's hand lifted, fingertips grazing Riley's hip through her jeans. Barely there, but enough to punch the air from Riley's lungs. "Like the way your breathing changes when I get this close," Maren whispered. "Or how your pupils do that little dilation thing when I say your name." "Stop," Riley started, not sure what she was protesting. "I'm not jealous of Jonah or whoever you dragged here tonight," Maren said, "because I know how you look when you're actually gone on someone." "And how is that?" Riley asked, voice rough. Maren leaned in, lips brushing Riley's ear. You look at them like you're trying not to. Riley's hand, fisted in the front of Marin's jacket, without permission from her brain. Let me know when you're done pretending, Marin said, pulling back. I'll still be here. Then she left. It took Riley a full minute to remember how to move. A week later, trivia night turned traitor on her. She wasn't feeling great when she left her apartment. Head heavy, skin too warm, but routine was routine. She could answer questions in her sleep. Apparently, she did. Halfway through the second round, she answered the capital of Sweden as Copenhagen, then blinked at her own handwriting. Riles? Nia asked. You okay? Fine, Riley mumbled. Brain lag. The music from the speakers pulsed a little too loudly against her skull. Her vision fuzzed at the edges. Who wrote Wuthering Heights? The quizmaster called. Riley opened her mouth. Shakespeare. Jordan stared. You mean Emily Bronte. That's what I said. Riley lied. Someone laughed. The sound felt underwater. Time out, Marin said, sliding out of the booth. She came around to Riley's side, leaned in close, and pressed her hand to Riley's forehead without asking. Christ, Hart, she muttered. You're burning. Up. Not as hot as you, Riley blurted. The table went dead silent. Riley's brain caught up with her mouth 2 seconds too late. Pressure built behind her eyes. I'm going to die, she said faintly. Nia slapped a hand over her own mouth to keep from howling. Jordan looked personally blessed. Marin's cheeks flushed, but her voice stayed surprisingly gentle. All right, Fever Dream. You're done. I can finish the quiz, Riley protested. You just called me hot in public, Marin said. You've clearly lost object permanence. Don't tell anyone, Riley mumbled as Marin helped her out of the booth. Too late, Jordan whispered. I've seen God. Riley's apartment looked different with Marin in it. She knew that was ridiculous. The shelves were the same, the alphabetized spice rack, the neat stack of folded blankets. But watching Marin move around her kitchen, like she belonged there, rewired something in Riley's chest. Where's your soup? Marin asked, rummaging through cabinets. Top left, Riley croaked from the couch, wrapped in 2 blankets and 1 existential crisis. Marin found the cans, made noise with pots, and eventually padded back over with a steaming bowl and a glass of water. Sit up, she ordered. Bossy, Riley muttered, obeying. It's almost like I care if you don't die, Marin said. Riley took a spoonful. It was too salty, not hot enough, and somehow the best thing she'd tasted in weeks. You're being nice, she said suspiciously. Don't get used to it, Marin said. Once the fever breaks, I go back to being your emotional nemesis. You're already my emotional nemesis, Riley murmured. Marin huffed a laugh and tugged the blanket higher over Riley's shoulders. When Riley shivered, Marin didn't comment. She just found another blanket, tucked it around her like it was the most natural thing in the world. Why are you like this? Riley asked, voice small. Like what? Here, Riley said. Taking care of me. Marin's expression softened. Because you let me. That felt dangerously close to something Riley wasn't ready to name. She fell asleep to the feeling of a cool hand sweeping hair off her forehead and the quiet sound of Marin humming under her breath. Things didn't go back to normal after that. They went sideways. Riley and Marin still bickered about trivia answers, about movies, about whether daylight saving time should be illegal. But there was a new layer now, the memory of soup and soft hands, of fever-loose compliments and a kiss in the dark that neither of them mentioned. At Nia's next game night, the tension boiled over in the kitchen. That's not what I said, Riley snapped, leaning over the counter to grab her drink. Marin mirrored her on the other side, arms planted, jaw tight. You implied that Inception is just a heist movie with daddy issues. That's literally what it is. You're missing the point. You're adding a point, Riley said. To a movie that doesn't have one. Jordan called from the living room. Are you two breaking up a fictional relationship again? Stay out of this. Marin and Riley yelled in unison. Riley reached for her cup. Her gaze snagged on Marin's hand, gripping the edge of the counter, thumb tapping furiously against the laminate. Stop, Riley said. Stop what? Marin demanded. That. Riley pointed. You always do that when you're trying not to freak out. Marin blinked. Do what? The thumb thing. Riley stepped closer, heat rising in her chest. You've done it since high school. Every time you thought you were hiding how much something got to you. Marin's thumb tapped faster. Oh, Riley said softly. You're not as collected as you pretend to be. Careful, Hart, Marin murmured. You're close enough to see things you can't unsee. Riley moved right up into her space, until the counter pressed against her hip and Marin's breath brushed her cheek. I really want to kiss you right now, Riley said, before her brain could stop her. Marin's pupils blew wide. Then do it. No. Coward, Marin teased. But there was a tremor under it. You kiss me, Riley said. You're the one with the rules. I told you, Marin said. I'm not kissing you again until you stop lying about it. About what? How good it was, Marin said. Riley's pulse roared in her ears. You're so full of yourself. And still right. Riley stared at her, at the thumb that wouldn't stop tapping, at the mouth she could still taste if she let herself. It wasn't the worst, she muttered. Try again, Marin said quietly. It was fine. Marin just watched her. Riley exhaled, the fight draining out of her. It was good, okay? It was stupidly good. Happy? Marin's shoulders loosened. Her hand left the counter and slid up to cup Riley's jaw. Ecstatic, she said, and kissed her. This time, Riley met her halfway. It wasn't frantic like the beach. It wasn't fever fuzzy. It was grounded and intentional and terrifyingly honest. Marin's fingers slid into Riley's hair. Riley's hands found Marin's waist and pulled her closer until there was nowhere left to go. Someone dropped a game piece in the other room. No one walked in. They broke apart only when breathing became medically necessary. That one was better, Riley said, dazed. Marin smirked. Glad I'm trending upward? Don't let it go to your head, Riley muttered. I think it's already there, Marin said. Riley rolled her eyes to hide the smile tugging at her mouth. Let's go back before Naya starts a live commentary thread, Marin added. They stepped into the living room side by side. No one screamed, no one gasped, but Naya's eyes narrowed, and Jordan raised a silent, knowing brow. Riley sat down a little closer to Marin than before. No one commented on it. Yet, sleep was a joke after that. Riley lay in the dark, phone on her chest, the taste of Marin's lip balm still ghosting her tongue. Her screen lit up. So was it still worst kiss of my life? She snorted and typed back. Statistically improbable. I'll put that in my diary, Marin replied. One honest compliment from Riley Hart. Frameable. Riley hesitated, blew out a breath. What are we doing? She sent. 3 dots. Going on a date, Marin wrote. Riley's heart stuttered. You're very sure of yourself? Yes, Marin replied. Tomorrow, 7. I'll pick you up. Wear something that makes it hard for me to pretend I don't want to kiss you again. Riley stared at the message until the words blurred. Fine, she sent. But I reserve the right to panic the entire time. Wouldn't recognize you otherwise, Marin wrote. The date was worse and better than Riley expected. Worse because she knocked a salt shaker over, mispronounced gnocchi in front of the waiter, and nearly called the waitress Your Honor. Better because Marin kept looking at her like there was no one else in the place worth watching. The restaurant was small and warm. String lights in the windows. Quiet music humming in the background. You're really trying to tank this, Marin said, after Riley dropped her fork for the second time. I'm fine, Riley said, cheeks flaming. This is fine. I'm just nervous, Marin supplied. Spatially overwhelmed, Riley corrected. That's not a thing. It is now. Marin leaned her elbows on the table. What exactly about this terrifies you? The candlelight? The eye contact? Or the part where you like me back? I do not like you, Riley said, stabbing a piece of pasta. You kissed me twice, Marin pointed out. 3 times, if we're counting the kitchen as 2. Bad impulse control. And yet, you're here, Marin said gently. Riley looked down at her plate. We argue. Some people flirt, Marin said. We just do it with citations. Riley let out a small, unwilling snort. See? Marin said, smiling. You're having fun. Stop saying things that make sense, Riley grumbled. It's unnerving. After dinner, they walked home slowly, hands bumping. In front of Riley's building, she fumbled her keys twice before turning to face Marin. So, she said. So, Marin echoed. You're not going to kiss me goodnight? Riley asked, then wanted to crawl into the nearest storm drain. Marin's smile went soft around the edges. Do you want me to? Riley's heart thudded. I don't know. Yes, you do, Marin said, closing the small distance between them. Riley didn't argue when Marin leaned in. The kiss was unhurried and sure. No jokes, no tests, just a quiet, solid yes. When they parted, Riley was still leaning forward slightly, like her body hadn't synced with her brain. I'll text you, Marin said, backing down the steps. You'd better, Riley replied. She went upstairs, shut her door, and slid down it, grinning into the dark like an idiot. Keeping it a secret was Nia's worst nightmare, and Riley's temporary necessity. Do not say anything tonight, Riley warned in Marin's doorway one Friday, tugging on her sneakers. I'm not ready for the scrutiny. You think they don't already know? Marin asked, lounging against the wall in Riley's stolen hoodie. They suspect, Riley said. It's different. So we're in the don't ask, definitely do tell my mouth phase, Marin mused. We're in the Riley will spontaneously combust if someone says the word girlfriend out loud phase. Riley corrected. Marin's eyes gleamed. Good to know. At game night, it took precisely 20 minutes for Riley to sabotage herself. You overthink every move, Marin said, as Riley deliberated over a card. At least I don't talk in my sleep, Riley shot back. Silence. Jordan's head snapped up. Priya paused mid-shuffle. Nia froze with a chip halfway to her mouth. How would you know that? Nia asked slowly. Lots of people talk in their sleep, Riley said, too fast. Statistically, Jordan said. You just told on yourself. Priya's eyes widened. The hoodie, she whispered. I knew I recognized that jacket. Riley groaned into her hands. This is bullying. Everyone looked at Marin. She took a deliberate sip of her drink. Would it help if I denied it? No, Nia said. But it would be adorable that you tried. So, Jordan said, leaning forward, how long have you two been quietly starring in my favorite slow burn? Riley considered dying on the spot. Marin bumped her knee under the table. Long enough that I'm allowed to steal her fries, Marin said. Short enough that Riley still panics when I hold her hand in public. I do not panic, Riley said. Her voice cracked. Everyone laughed. Nia threw her arms up. My matchmaking arc has a payoff. I can die happy. Graduation came faster than Riley thought it would. 1 second she was highlighting syllabi. The next, she was standing in a rented gown, hat askew, trying not to cry, as they all took photos on the lawn. Later, they collapsed in a loose circle on the grass. Naya on her back, staring at the sky, Jordan pretending to nap, Priya scribbling in a journal, Marin pressed shoulder to shoulder with Riley. "All right," Naya said, flinging an arm over her face. "We did it. We beat academia. Now what?" "Grad school," Jordan said mournfully. "Then death." "I got the fellowship," Priya said quietly. They all sat up. "The one in Berlin?" Riley asked. Priya nodded. "I leave in August." Nia's mouth fell open. "You're moving to Germany, and you didn't lead with that?" "I didn't want to make it a thing," Priya said. "It is a thing," Jordan said. "You're going to have European girlfriends and cool scarves, and we'll be here getting yelled at by bosses who say, 'Circle back,' unironically." Marin nudged Riley. "We need a plan that's at least half that cool." Riley rested her head briefly on Marin's shoulder. "I thought the plan was me panicking and you pretending you're relaxed until I catch up." "It's working so far," Marin said. They talked for hours about jobs and road trips and half-serious schemes to buy a cabin together in 10 years, when they'd all burned out. For once, the future felt like a question mark instead of a guillotine. Later, when the sun had dipped and campus emptied out, Riley and Marin walked alone under the streetlights. The gown was gone. Riley was back in jeans and an oversized sweatshirt. Marin had her hands shoved in her pockets, shoulders relaxed. Riley reached for her hand without thinking. Marin laced their fingers together, like she'd been waiting. "So," Riley said, "we graduated. Evidence suggests yes," Marin said. "We're basically dating," Riley added, embarrassing herself all over again. Marin snorted. "You think?" Riley bumped her shoulder. "I'm making a statement, not asking a question." "Sounded like a question," Marin said. Riley stopped walking. Marin stopped too, their joined hands the only anchor in a world that suddenly felt too big. "I don't know what comes next," Riley admitted. "Jobs, cities, how we don't screw this up." Marin squeezed her hand. "Newsflash, Hart, not knowing is allowed." "That physically pains me," Riley said. "I know," Marin said softly, "but we don't have a rubric for this. We just have us." Riley looked at her, the rival she'd measured herself against for years, the girl who'd unplugged her projector, the woman who'd learned her tells, taken care of her when she was sick, pushed her until she cracked and told the truth. "I spent so long naming this the wrong thing," Riley said, "calling it hate or irritation or rivalry, anything but what it was." "And now?" Marin asked. "Now I'm very reluctantly willing to admit that I'm in love with you," Riley said. "Which is gross and your fault." Marin's smile was slow and devastating. "Say it again." Riley rolled her eyes. "Don't get greedy." "I'll wait," Marin said, stepping closer, free hand resting lightly at Riley's waist. "I'm patient. You're the least patient person I know." "And yet," Marin murmured, leaning in so their foreheads touched, "I waited for you anyway." Riley closed the last inches herself. The kiss was familiar and new all at once, like every argument and every almost and every finally rolled into one steady line. When they broke apart, Riley was breathless in the best way. "Terrifying," she said. "What is?" Marin asked. "Doing whatever we want," Riley said, "without a plan." Marin looked down at their linked hands, then back at her. "We can make it up as we go. You'll overthink. I'll annoy you. We'll pick a city we both dislike equally and conquer it." "That sounds horrible," Riley said. "Yeah," Marin agreed. "It sounds perfect." Riley laughed. the sound loosening something that had been knotted for years. "Fine," she said. "But if we crash and burn, I reserve the right to say, 'I told you so,' at least once." "You can say it twice," Marin said. "I'll still choose you." Riley leaned in again, kissing her under the streetlight. Cap and gowns, in classrooms, in detention far behind them. For the first time, the future didn't feel like a test she had to ace alone. It felt like a story they were finally writing together. The end. If you enjoyed this WLW Enemies to Lovers spiral, hit subscribe for more long-form sapphic stories in weekly romance chaos.